Welcome everyone to our March 2026 user group meeting. Um, for those of you who are new here or this is your first time, we do these once every single month, except for October when we have Summit. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide. So this is going to be the agenda for today. I'm going to go ahead and continue with introductions. We're going to then hand it off over to our Summit update. We'll talk about our upcoming events. And then we're going to dive into two really unique educational sessions today from Cari Corozza and Kim Dallefeld. They are both two very knowledgeable people within the Business Central space. And then we'll go into an open forum where we can talk about anything related to Business Central, Summit, or Dynamics communities. So this is our 2026 Board of Advisors for Business Central. All of these individuals dedicate their free time to helping out the community, putting together events like this, webinars, writing articles, planning Summit. So if you have any questions about any of these topics, feel free to reach out to any of them. All their profiles should be on the Learners platform where you can get their emails or message them directly. So now we're going to go ahead and hand it over to our Summit update.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. Want to take the opportunity to provide a bit of an update related to Summit. We got a lot of things happening. It's several months into the future. However, this is when a lot of activity goes on, and this is where we're going to ask for your help as well. There are a lot of people in the community that have a lot of good knowledge and experiences that we'd love for you to share. So the call for speakers is open. It's open until the end of March. So would encourage you to take the time to submit a session. Also, if you're uncomfortable or you haven't done a public presentation, let us know, reach out to the Summit Committee, and we can work on pairing you up with somebody as well so that you can get more comfortable with it. There are some good benefits that come along with being a speaker. You do get a pass to Summit, and that is significant value. And there's a speaker prep room, so you've got a quiet space to go and prep for your sessions, and as well, you've got some snacks available in that rest areas. We're excited with the traction and the registration so far. As of March 14th, we were at 950 registrations. We had 460 people that have indicated that Business Central is of interest, and in particular, Business Central is the primary interest for 360 people that have registered. Also, the sponsors were at 236 with a target of 290. So a lot of sponsors have already signed up for the event as well. And lastly, the Academy, which is the more deep dive, full day type sessions prior to the event. We have a number of Academy sessions that are lined up, so would encourage you to have a look at those and sign up. There's a lot of really good content to help people that are new to Business Central, help people that have been using Business Central for a while, or perhaps are exploring, adding on a different component or functional area to their existing Business Central. So with that, final comment is take advantage of the call for speakers. The call for speakers link is available on the Summit North America page. So go ahead and register, and we're looking forward to having everyone at the event and having a great selection of content available for everyone.
Andrew, can you talk about the Academy, please, so that people know that we're having a whole-blown Academy for Business Central Learning?
Okay, I can talk about Academy a little further. Academy is takes place prior to Summit. It is adjacent to Summit so that you can travel once and get the benefit of Academy. These are typically 1-day sessions, but they are a whole day on a given topic. So as you can see here, we have a list of options available for Academy, ranging from finance through to manufacturing projects, dealing with WIPN projects, and so on. So I would encourage you to have a look at this. It also includes some development sessions. So it's a great way to get a more comprehensive or deeper dive into each of these relative topics. There is an additional fee for the Academy courses, but it's a nominal fee compared to what the knowledge that you walk away with.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew. Let's go ahead and we can talk about the learners and webinar update.
All right, so first with learners, hopefully everyone that's attending this session, currently right now, you're registered for learners, you've added yourself to a region, or you have been added automatically to a region, and you're getting the benefits of learners, including sufficient notifications for this monthly national user group meeting, some upcoming webinars. Hopefully you've gotten notifications for some road shows that may be coming to your area. But it's a great platform for this all-inclusive engagement. And we're really putting focus on building the learners platform. It is new, so we're all learning. Please bear with us. And getting it for this type of, what they say, connect, discuss, and collaborate within this one platform singularly. I do want to point out, if you are watching this webinar on demand and you did not get notice of this webinar, make sure you have registered for learners, and also that you've added yourself to a region inside of learners so that you can get the notifications once events are created. We also send out notifications a couple weeks prior to the events and whatnot. So it's a great way to keep you involved.
All right. Well, thank you, Angela. Next up, we will talk about our upcoming events and roadshows.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. I should have clicked to the slide when I was talking about the upcoming roadshows and the upcoming meetings. Hopefully you've gotten a notice regarding these. I will say that we have scheduled them on learners out to the end of second quarter. So all these should be showing and available for you to register for. And also we are working on, and very shortly we'll be publishing the events for third quarter, really for the remainder of the year. So you should be on the lookout for those notifications. And then for the webinars, I will pass it over to Blaine.
All right, thanks. Hello, everybody. Yeah, upcoming here, my fellow webinar partner in crime, David Laster, is working on filling April. Should be filled shortly. Almost, I think you have somebody ready to go there, right, David?
I'm close, I hope. Fingers crossed.
So that's awesome. We have May, June, July filled with the topics there. Thanks to if Todd, Julie, and Telka are online here, but we have some great topics coming up. You can see them listed there. Highly recommend signing up. So for any of these, and if you're not real sure how to sign up, you just go on to Learners, and when you log in there, you'll come up on your home page. You can select meetings at the top, scroll down, and you can review all the meetings that are available to you. You open up the meeting, you say view details, and then get tickets, and you can sign up. It sends you an email with a calendar invite and everything else, so you don't forget about it, that you signed up. So anyway, love for everybody to join. And in fact, I wanted to point out kudos to the user group base. We've had a huge improved amount of participation this year, and I attribute that largely to the Learners platform, but also to each of you that signed up and are starting to participate more as users and learn from each other and and yeah, just learn together as a group. So thanks for that. Our March AI and BC webinar with Brad and Steve, we had 110 registrants, about 60 participants. Leah's February, which was our first of the year, Inventory 101, had almost 40 attendees. So that was even a huge uptick from last year. So yeah, keep on signing up and keep on learning. I suggest that to everybody here and anybody that's viewing this as a recording right now. Sign up. So if you're interested in giving a topic, David and I are both available. Reach out to us. I put my LinkedIn QR code there if you happen to want to do that and message me that way. But you can go online and find us as well. So, and then once again, to reiterate what Angela said earlier, is if for some reason you're viewing this and you're not signed up for learners and in a region, encourage you, please do both. You'll get all these notifications and you'll learn about the events and be able to participate more and more and take advantage of being part of this group. All right. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and pass this over to Cari for her educational session. So, Cari, take it away.
All right.
And Cari, I'm going to stop sharing, and you can start.
Okay. Let me just figure out how. All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. And hopefully you can see my screen. So I am giving a short session on a Business Central reporting roadmap. And the reason for me doing this session is because I feel like I often get the question from users, from management of Business Central, what should I be using for my reporting? Should I be using out-of-the-box reports, financial reporting? Should I be using this new analysis mode? Should I be using Power BI? So really what I wanted to do in this session is just outline the different types of reports we have available and when I've seen those most commonly used. So this is me. I went out on my own under Powerlift Solutions last July 2025. So it's been really good for me to be able to really focus in on kind of joining the accounting aspect with the Business Central consulting aspect. So I still get to use the software every day, which I think is great for me because it helps to keep me sharp on my Business Central skills as well. This session is really intended, again, like I said, just a high level overview on what I've seen commonly used for who prefers what reports, when to use everything, what they can give. I'm also open to feedback in chat as I'm going through each of these because there may be things that I haven't considered. So this is not instructional or step-by-step. I know Kim Dallefeld will be giving a financial reporting session after this, so I won't go too much into financial reports. I'll also share a couple Microsoft improvements to reporting because this is something that Microsoft, especially Kenny, has been focusing on. So I want to highlight some of those areas. When I think about the different types of reporting in Business Central, specifically kind of from a finance perspective, these are all of the different reports that I think about. So these are all of the things that I am covering. And some of these we might, consider, yes, these are reports. Some of these might be things that we never considered as reports, like filtered views or using our chart of accounts. The thing that is most important to consider when figuring out the right report is who is using the report. And I think for me, this didn't really click until maybe like a year ago when I was working with the CFO and she said, I know that Business Central is better for reporting. She said, but personally, like I consume information best in Excel. So it's really about knowing your audience. You could have the best report ever and it's got all the information needed. But if your end recipient or viewer doesn't consume information in that way, or that's not how their brain works, it's not going to be effective. So it's always about figuring out what that end user wants and then making sure that they're getting what they need. Now, of course, I would definitely try to sway them in the direction of, what about this report because it's got all this information. But again, it's just really about keeping that in mind. So this is actually a pyramid that Kenny from Microsoft provided, I think, a couple years ago in one of his sessions. And I think this does a really good job of illustrating the different ways to consume data. So at the bottom, we have, well, not at the bottom of the pyramid, we have that staff, that everyday staff that's entering the transactional data, really in touch with what's going on a daily basis. So for them, they might be looking at operational reports or anything that's on screen in Business Central. One step up from that, we have management. So they're looking for things that will help them make better decisions. They're looking for analysis on the spot, looking for trends and summaries. So not necessarily that detailed day-to-day data, but reports with enough information to be able to make those decisions. And then all the way at the top there in that pink or purple, you have leadership, who typically they're focused on KPIs, dashboards. They don't necessarily always need or want to see what that transactional data is, or even in that format. So they're really looking for that high level performance data. And if we look at the typical applications we can present that data in, sometimes that detailed data could be in Excel. The trends and summaries we can grab from Business Central, and Power BI maybe is more fitting to build out those KPIs or dashboards. Now, this isn't always, a one-for-one. Of course, you might have your CFO or an owner that likes data in Excel. So this is just what he put together as what we typically see. Kim told me I misspelled my name. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Kim. I was recently recognized as a Microsoft MVP about 18 days ago. So thank you, Kim, for reminding me of that. So very, very excited to have a little bit more of a reach and just be able to add that to my credentials and hopefully continue sharing the information that I always enjoy sharing. All right. So standard analytical BC reports. I didn't really know what to call these. I didn't want to call them out of the box reports, but these are really anything where you can, search, you can go to your report explorer and find these reports. So I think of these as this report like vendor purchases by item. It's built in. I don't have to do anything to get it. I can plug in my filters and, you can see for this one, we're not including returns. We're including items with net purchases of more than $100. So these are those reports that come out of the box. Oftentimes, these are really helpful for companies, but sometimes we find that maybe it's missing a field or missing a valuable piece of information that that company would really like to see. Another example is customer order summary. So again, it's there out of the box. We don't have to do anything to get it. We just plug in the filters that we want and we run that report. We do also, I would say recently, but this has been here now for a few years, we have the ability to modify some of these reports with Excel layouts. And I know, Kim herself has done good sessions. Other people have done sessions at conferences. This is really cool what you can do with these Excel layouts. So again, this is not a step-by-step, but just throwing out there that you can modify these to have those layouts in Excel. You can include charts and all of that. So we can do a little bit more with these standard analytical reports than we used to be able to in the past. This is always the big question for me. Probably a lot of you, if you're working with end users, they'll reach out and they'll say, hey, I need a report for, what did we buy by item for each vendor? And they'll ask me, do we have a report for this? And honestly, my answer is usually, I don't know, let me look, because there's so many of these reports in the system that it's, I don't know all of them. I also sometimes struggle to find them. Usually what I'll do is I'll start typing in vendor or purchase into my system search. So one option is to go to this report explorer, go to reports and analysis, and look in those different areas. I don't usually do this because for me, like this just isn't the screen that I work best in. So yes, the reports are here, but I tend to just, like I said, type purchase or vendor into my system search and look at the different reports and analysis and then run those and see what might be best for this question. So if anyone has a better way of knowing what reports are available in a single list, please let me know. Another way of just on your Role Center screen, finding reports is you can add them to your bookmarks. And if you look in that actions section, there are some Excel reports that also are available that might be different from those standard, analytical reports that we're looking at because they're in that Excel view. So just, again, different ways of finding these reports. They're all over. A small improvement recently to the Role Explorer as well is that you can now see a tooltip on the different areas of the Role Explorer, and you can open it in a new window. So previously, if you run a report, from your role explorer, it would open it in that same window, and then you would lose that window essentially. So now we can open it in a new window. So small improvement. The question of when should I use these, this is the list that I put together. But again, this doesn't mean that it's, a one size fits all. So if you're looking for a report with minimal manipulation, I can run it. I can get that data I need. This is good. Subledger reconciliation, aged AP, aged AR, these are great for those fixed assets. If you don't have a lot of custom fields, these reports can be good, but I found if people are using custom fields that, these standard reports won't have those fields. So that's when you'll need to do some, modification to those. If we want data without building custom reports, these are great. They're there out of the box. You can also, as I mentioned, modify the Excel layout to fit your needs. And here's my question. If someone asks, do we have a report that shows XYZ? I will often look through these standard reports to see if we have something that could work. These are typically not used as financial reports. So, when you're looking at your month-end balance sheet, income statement, those primarily will be in financial reports or maybe a different resource. So we'll look a little bit more at that. And then, as I mentioned, myself, I couldn't even name all of those reports that we have and what they show, because even if you run, or even if you type in trial balance, you're going to get 20 different trial balances and you can run them all different ways. So I just like to kind of figure out what's out there by typing it in and experimenting. The target audience for these reports, I really think these can be used by anyone. You might have a day-to-day staff who's looking at one of those reports, management or leadership. I think there's so many of them and they can actually be valuable for all of those different audiences. Okay, analysis views. This is not analysis mode or data analysis. This is analysis views. This is something that I find a lot of users don't know about or don't realize you can use them on their own and not in conjunction with financial reports. So this allows us to basically combine different pieces of data. We can pick our columns, we can pick our rows, we can pick our dimensions, and we can view it in a matrix style. Finding them, you can either just bookmark it or system search. I have not really found a better way of getting to these. They might be under one of those navigation menus, but I usually just end up searching for it. So when to use these, you can use them on their own. And again, this is what I find people overlook oftentimes is we can export this matrix and we can view, so this one has our accounting periods as our rows, which we might typically see as our columns, and it's actually using the dimensions to slice and dice the data different ways. So these are really flexible if you are doing ad hoc analysis and just want to get a big picture of something that's maybe not set up in your financial reports. This is a different example of actually looking by region what our different departments are. So combining two different dimensions to get the data. We can also use analysis views for exposing additional dimensions in our financial reporting. So if we're using, shortcut dimension number 7 or whatever it may be, we'll set up that analysis view, we'll join it with our financial report, and then we'll be able to report on those different dimensions. So this is where I more commonly see analysis views being used, but we can use them on their own as well. In my personal opinion, what I've seen, these analysis views, they really are kind of nitty gritty. You have to know how to view the matrix, fill out the information to even get this view. So I've usually seen, the everyday staff or management of that everyday staff using these reports. I know I gave a similar session at DynamicsCon, I think last year, and I had a CFO in the audience who said, well, I'm management and I actually really like analysis views, but I think in that case too, your CFO might think in terms of like Excel or slicing and dicing data that way. So of course, analysis views can be used by anyone, but this is where I've commonly seen them used. Okay, this is one of my favorites, filtered views and chart of accounts. I think this is what people don't often think of as reports, but we can get some really great information from the system with filtering and saved views. This is just an example. On my item list, I've filtered to a type of inventory, a quantity on hand of less than 10, where we have no substitutes and it's a chair. So for me, this is really giving me real-time information of what do we maybe need to pay attention to for ordering for chairs, because we're low inventory and we don't have any substitutes for these. So these views, you can build as many as you need, and they do update real time. So they're dynamically updated. It's not like, that standard analytical report where once I run it and put it in PDF, it's a static report. Again, filtered views, this is a different option. So what are the biggest purchase invoices that we had in a certain period, and what vendor was it? So this is just an example. We're looking for anything over $2,000 for a purchase invoice in period 3. And if you use that P3 as the posting date, you can use this filter from year to year, because we'll always look to the current year. So that's just a little trick I like to use when filtering by posting dates. This is actually one of my favorites for a quick glance of how are we doing so far. I'm not a huge proponent of lots and lots of beginning total and ending totals on the chart of accounts. I feel like they can sometimes just muck up what you're looking at, especially when you have, 6 different levels of ending totals that you're doing. I do, however, love doing a calculation to calculate net income. And we can use this as a check figure for our financial reports when we're writing them, or we can use it just to see like, all right, where are we at for the month? Where are we at for the year? So I do really like this one. The thing that I will caution with this one is I've also seen it where management goes in before we've closed out the month and they're like, hey, Cari, it looks like we have $500,000 of net income this month. Like, that's really good. And then I have to tell them, well, we haven't finished yet. So why don't you wait till I can post all the entries and I'll send you out the final financial reports. So that's the only thing with all of these, is you just have to make sure that when people are running them, it has the data that you want them to see. And then the other little caveat or asterisk with this totaling account is if you see a negative or credit balance, that means your sales, which are natural credit balance, are more than your expenses, which is a good thing. So I also find that sometimes people look at net income and they're like, oh, it's really good, when in fact it's showing net loss. So keep in mind, credit in this field is good, debit is net loss. Filtered views, you can find these filters available on any lists, and you can build out the filters that work for you. When should I use these? I often find that when I'm drilling into data in Business Central and adding filters, that's when I should save that as a view. If I'm looking at it now, it might be something that I want to return to. As I mentioned, these are dynamic or real-time reports. So rather than running something that is, later going to change when I look at it, I like to just get the data straight from BC. Again, if we want to keep the data for later, return to that filtered view. You can share it with your team so that they can also see that same view, or you can actually have your admin build these saved views into profiles. So if you always want finance having, that posted purchase invoice over $2,000 view available, it can be built into the profile that they're using. If you're just looking for quick and dirty data, or want to even sort the data, this is a good use for these. Target audience for these, again, it can be used by anyone. I've just commonly seen this used by people that are in the system day to day, looking at that detailed data. Okay, data analysis. I call it data analysis because at one point, Kenny P from Microsoft said that that's what it's called. However, if we look at the tooltips in Business Central, it shows entering analysis mode. So I think most of us refer to it as analysis mode. I'm just looking at a question. So Fiona asked, do the profile views and filters get reset every update, or do they stay permanently? In my experience, they stay permanently. I do know though, like especially on timesheets, those saved views changed with major updates. So I don't know for sure, but in my experience, I have not had an issue unless like the filters for that page or function are being reset altogether. So curious if anyone else more technical has thoughts on that. For the analysis mode or data analysis, again, this is different than analysis views. This is that little widget box, analysis box that you can click when you are on, again, a list view. Sometimes I click this by accident because I start clicking in my little magnifying glass before the page fully loads, and I find myself in analysis mode. And it's actually a little tricky to get out if you don't know how. I'm always looking for like a back arrow, but you just re-click on this same box and it takes you back to your regular view. Okay, a couple great things on the data analysis. I can rename my tabs. I can keep as many tabs as I want. So if it's something, again, like a filtered view where you're always returning to this same way of analyzing the data, save it and go back to it. I also really love that we can enter into pivot mode, because this to me is similar to Excel, and that's how I like to group and look at my data. So if we do go into pivot mode, it looks, just very similar to a pivot table in Excel. We also have Copilot, which can help us build those analyses if we, maybe we're not familiar with how to build pivot tables, but we know what it is that we want to see. We can have Copilot help with that. And then recently as well, the ability to add in related table fields was also made available. So we now have an easier way of, joining the contact information on the customer card or whatever other related tables you might want to join and view that information. So that's really nice. Data analysis, again, available on any lists that you go to. And when should I use this? Now, I'm curious for those in the audience. As much as I hate to admit it, I still find myself exporting data to Excel and manipulating in Excel. And I think part of this, to be honest, is trust issues, because when this, analysis mode first came out, there were some kind of weird or buggy things with like the posting dates. And I think for me, I trust Excel. That's the thing I trust. So I know that the improvements have been made. I have not found any bugs or issues lately. But again, I'm curious for those in the audience. Do you tend to use the data analysis, or do you still dump things into Excel? So I've tried to be better about using the data analysis. If you want to manipulate your data, get totals, get a report view without leaving BC, this is great for that. If you want to pivot data in BC, again, it's great for that. This is the biggest one I use it for, is viewing totals on my columns. So if I run, I don't know, a list of posted purchase invoices and I want to know that total amount, I'll put that into the data analysis mode, and then I will get that total from the bottom. Kim says she uses them a whole lot more now. Yeah, I think I just need to be better about giving it another chance. Creating data analysis tabs to reuse. Again, it's just like those saved views. You can come back and you can repeatedly look at that same data in a different format. Especially, I find that this can be helpful for month-end reconciliation or things like that. And any ad hoc analysis, anything that you're looking at and you're like, oh, I just want to know the total of these things by period, you can use this for. The target audience for this, again, I find that mostly the staff or the day-to-day users are the ones that will use this data analysis or analysis mode. Financial reports. So again, I will not go into this in detail because I know Kim has a whole session on that. But in general, the financial reports can give you insights into your financial data. Imagine that. So this is typically pulling from your chart of accounts, your GL accounts. You also can incorporate budget entries as well in those financial reports. But this, for the most part, is not going to give you vendor purchases by item or statistics like that. There are also built-in sample financial reports that you can use right away. And this has expanded over the past releases as well, where there's now more financial reports for us to use out of the box. And if you set up your chart of accounts correctly, have all the categorizations on there, you can have Business Central help you update those reports to include your chart of accounts without having to manually build those. So the great thing about this is you can build as many as you want. You don't need a developer. You can self-maintain them. This is a very sad and skimpy income statement, but there's not a ton of data in our test companies. So this is an example of a summarized income statement by month. So this is one thing we could do with financial reports. I could also expand that out and add as much detail as I wanted into like the operating expense section. You'll also notice there is a negative amount format, so I can decide how I want to show these negative amounts. I believe this is only within the user interface. I think when you export it, it doesn't respect that, but I'm not 100% sure. How to find financial reports. You can, in your general ledger setup, specify what your company's income statement, balance sheet, retained earnings, and cash flow statement are, and then you can run them that way. Or what I typically do is I'll go to the financial reporting page, I'll pick out what I need to run, and I'll run it when I need to. But you can specify your company's reports in the general ledger setup. Just looking at Fiona's comment, exporting pivot tables from analysis mode don't export as adjustable groups. So they're not as clean as if I would just export and do a pivot in Excel. That's interesting to know. I actually have not ever tried to export the pivot tables to Excel. So that's a really good point. When to use financial reports. Again, these are or can be your standard financial reports that you use monthly or quarterly or annually. So usually we're looking at the income statement, the balance sheet, the statement of cash flow, and the statement of shareholders' equity. We also can use dimensions in this reporting. So we can have financial reports that are, you know, just dimensions, reporting on dimensions for different periods of time, similar to what we could do with those analysis views. We can use filters as well. There's different ways of building these, either with, you know, totals and subtotals of GL accounts or the individual posting accounts. And the great part is that we can compare to the GL budget that we've put into the system for that comparison data for, you know, are we over budget, are we under budget? And we can build in different periods of time for these reports. The target audience, I think for this, what I've typically seen is either, you know, management or above, people that are looking at the results of something and not necessarily that day-to-day transactional data. You can drill into the entries that make up the underlying data if you're viewing these within the interface. So if I, you know, export it to Excel, send it to leadership, they would have to come back and then ask me, you know, what's making this up. The pre-built Power BI reports, as I call them, maybe out of the box, not sure exactly what to call them. These are the Power BI reports that we have without having to do anything. You know, we will have to link or integrate Power BI. We might have to install the different reports, but these come available to us with Power BI. So Power BI, what is it? It's a data visualization system from Microsoft. I got all this information you can see directly from Microsoft and just kind of summarized it. So it retrieves data from Business Central to build reports and dashboards. This is great because, again, it's that real-time data. We can refresh it straight from BC. It's not information sitting in a static spreadsheet. It is a great flexible alternative to reports built into BC. So if we need to do things that we can't do in financial reporting or in other reporting, it's great to have this option in Power BI. I really like this as well because we can drill down and we can customize or modify how we're seeing things visually. So we'll often see, you know, management dashboards built into Power BI. We can also merge data from different companies, and there are some that you can actually embed in Business Central as well so that those day-to-day users can see those reports directly from Business Central. Here's an example of, this is the financial overview Power BI report. It might be a little bit different now if they've made changes. You can see, you know, it's got the different charts. So this is really, it's not that transactional data, it's that higher level data that we're looking at to figure out how the business is doing, make decisions, all of that. This is another one, a sales report that could be valuable. And this is just a brief overview of this Microsoft documentation. And I think that the Learn documentation they have for this is really good. So we can see the different functional areas. We can see the different landing pages. So if I want to know more about installing this finance Power BI app, it walks me through, the different reports that we have available. So it's nice to be able to see what those are before you install them. And then it'll also give us some instructions for how we can put those into our environment. So to learn more, go to the setting up the Power BI Finance app, and that will give you more information on how you actually can go through it and do it. So this is not something personally that I have done, but I did have some colleagues send me screenshots because they've done it successfully. You do need to find those applications, the Power BI apps for those individual reports, and make sure that those are installed. And then these are just some more of those links to, give more resources on how that setup goes. Of course, this is something that, if you're an end user, you should talk to your admin about first before trying to do this. Something we also learned a couple years ago is that anyone who is viewing these reports does need a Power BI license. So I know that can be one of the areas that organizations look into from a cost perspective. How much will it cost us to use these reports? And I think I found that oftentimes that's why companies choose to just use, what's within Business Central, because we're already paying for that. It's included. So let's see what we can do in BC. And we do have very powerful reports in BC. Steve mentioned Power BI Pro licenses. So that must be what's needed to view those. When should I use these? If you want to, or help someone to visualize data or information in a certain way, these can be really great for that. If you want to view information in a way that's not available in Business Central, again, we can do a lot in Business Central, but sometimes those reports just aren't enough. And if we just want that quick snapshot of what's going on, these can be really good for that. I think that these reports can be useful for everyone, especially with the new reports that Microsoft is coming out with. I think that really everyone can benefit from looking at these, maybe finding anomalies, finding things that need to be fixed, or making decisions based on that data. Okay, Copilot. Of course, I have to talk about Copilot. So what is it? It's Microsoft's AI-powered assistant, and it can be accessed through Microsoft products, including Business Central. How do I find it? You can't avoid it. It pops up everywhere. I do a bank rec, Copilot wants to help me. I go into analysis mode, Copilot wants to help me. So that's great sometimes, but if I say, let's just hide this for now, I would love if it would do that the next time I go back. But Copilot is always there. It's always ready to help. Again, you find it on your bank rec, you find it on the data analysis. You also have that pane that you can open and use Copilot. And I do like it sometimes to ask a question and say, hey, can you point me in the direction of documentation for XYZ or help with this? When to use it, that's really up to you anytime that you find it helpful, but I really like it for, I don't like it for when things need to be exact. If I have, a bank rec, for example, I need to make sure that what's being matched is an exact match. It can't just be good enough or close enough. That in the accounting world is, just not good. So when it's something that I just need a summary of a record, an overview, point me in the direction of this, I love it for that. It's great for that. To assist in, formatting the data in a way that I might not know how, but I know what I want to see, we can use it for that. And then if I also want to provide a prompt and get information back, that's where it's really good. So for me, it's about that interaction with Copilot and the information that Copilot can provide me with, but not necessarily replacing, those daily tasks that I might be doing. Or at least I'll say at this point in my Copilot experience, that's what I primarily use it for. Ted says, Copilot for those who forgot Clippy. I love Clippy. The target audience for Copilot, again, really anyone can use this, but I would see it primarily with the staff who are doing the tasks, compiling that data, or management who's analyzing. I do think it can be really helpful for calling out anomalies, trends, things like that. So that analysis that we might do manually, again, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not a rule. It's calling out, here's this piece of information to pay attention to. And then, as mentioned, Microsoft continues to improve reporting, specifically the Power BI reports that are available, as well as that data analysis, as well as financial reporting. So these are just a few things that have improved in the recent releases. And I think there are some other things in the Wave 1 2026 release. I have not had a chance to even look into that yet. So yeah, excited to learn more about those. Leslie asked, do we have a timeline for when custom report layouts will be fully phased out? We still have user-defined reports there, and I'm wondering how urgent I should prioritize transitioning out of there. I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure if anyone else can help answer that.
I have not heard about that. That somebody who designs their own private report would be phased out, because think about documents. Documents are custom reports. I mean, you think about so many things that fall into that bracket that I don't see it being phased out per se. I know
Yeah,
I know the new word layouts are now improving it to do yourself through Word, but just a complete phase out, I haven't heard anything that was been announced.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, like the thing that I know is the custom report layouts are now being managed or pushed to report layouts or whatever it is, you know, that it's those 3 pages. I always get confused. I'm like, I want to make a change. Do I go to this one, or this one? But yeah, beyond that, I don't know specifically. So, all right, that's all I have. So I appreciate, you know, everyone listening, appreciate the feedback. David is asking, do you mean custom report layouts versus report layouts? That's the change that I know about. So I'm guessing, but yeah, curious to know more. So if anyone has questions as well about my information, feel free to reach out. And I know Kim's going to give us some good financial reporting information now.
That was really, really good, Cari.
Thank you.
I enjoyed
Thank
that.
you.
Okay, let me see how I share my screen now. When I share that, what are you going to get to see? How many clicks does it take? That's not the right one. There we go. Y'all see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yay!
Yes.
Thank you. See, Cari, you got to put all those initials at the end of your name. You're in MCT too.
I know. I'll work on it.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Dallefeld. I've been doing this product that I love for 30 years. And so, you know, when you talk a lot to people and you try to help, they give you little buttons to wear. So my one I'm most proud of is, of course, MVP. Call out to my BC3 amigos. But I just love helping this community. And that's why I'm here to talk today. I've been also part of Kenny's group with Microsoft that Cari mentioned, the financial reporting heroes. So I've really been spending time in financial reporting after really not using it for a while. Yeah, what are they and where do they fit? I think we know the answer to that. It's interesting though. I'm seeing a lot of new and different uses for financial reports. But mostly they're your balance sheet and income statement, right? There are 4 or 5 main components right now. And that really is the row and column definition that combines to make a financial report, analysis views, which Cari touched on using analysis views, but not really in the financial report context. And it's really about those dimensions. If you need more than, or you need to mix and match the dimensions on a report. I show a lot of screenshots and examples. And then I thought maybe if we got a chance, we could, do some setup, some design, run them, export them, take a look. And so that's what we're going to, no, you know what? I guess it's kind of boring just to sit there and have you tell me all the things the system can do. So you know what? Let's just don't do that top part, and we'll talk about it on the way. Okay? I think we'll have some fun. So there's a financial report. I know, I'm teasing you. I want to tell you about just conceptually, visually I talked about those core components, but let's look at them, right? So we have our row definitions, which is just the lines that are going to print. And of course, we have the column definitions. And a lot of things that we can do in the rows and the columns are things such as bolding, right? There's many other things bolded, but we can bold. We can italicize, so if there's something we want to point out and have it stand out differently. And then we can get a row that prints like this, which means I just don't want to see anything. I want you to really skip it if there's any column doesn't have a value. Now, normally I wouldn't have a big gap there. So if my resources down here did not have anything on it, that just wouldn't be there, and cost of materials would take its place. And underlines, double underlines, and that's just a few of the things that we can do in all of those core components. So I think a lot of times what we end up doing is we go maybe to the overview and we get a financial statement and we export it to Excel. You hear that a lot. How do I edit this, or what can I do with this? Because the standard format is what we just looked at. It's kind of basic, not really something that I think is management worthy. And so what does the consultant say? Send it to Excel and format it. But you don't want to do that every month, right? Some people do. We do it over and over and over. And don't look at this one, because the total fixed assets, I didn't set the row up right. And I don't want to fix it here. I could fix it here, which is one of the nice things about putting it in Excel, but I want to fix it so it'll run correctly every time. What I'd really like to see is maybe something a little more like this, right? I've got some color, I've got company name, I've got something much more formatted with underlines and dollar signs, and it just looks a whole lot better. Has anybody looked at the bottom left-hand side? It actually has the word balance sheet on it. That may not be the name of my report, but I can make that be something that's a little more formal, a little more formatted. Okay, so what I really wanted to do is kind of get into this a little bit more. And so we're going to pop over and get into BC. Now I set all these up. Let's see if I do it right. Hopefully you can still see my screen. This is version 27 that I'm working in. I am going to sneak preview some 28. We're going to take a look at financial reporting here. What I want to do here is what I talked about, is just showing you how you make that last Excel spreadsheet work for you. So here's a detailed trial balance. We were looking at a detailed income statement. Here's a note that I always tell people. If you use, if you change a row definition or a column definition here, even though these are the defaults, the next time you come in, it doesn't reset to the default. So I always tend to double check what I'm doing. That's something I hope we fix. So I've got January right here. Normally, once I check that, and I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna Yeah, I'm going to take that out. We'll come back to that. So we got January. I hide all of this so I can really see what I'm going to take out. I think this gives you much more information. And I'm going to do that same old thing. I'm going to send it to Excel, but I'm going to create a new template. Now it creates a spreadsheet. So I'm going to open that. And it is pretty sad, a little bit slow the first time you open it. It's never this slow. Okay, here we go. It's just sad looking, right? Hide this. Okay, and yeah, it's not something I want to use. But here's what I don't want you to do. I want you to enable editing, but I don't want you to start making changes here, right? I'm going to create another sheet. And I'm actually give it a good name. So this is a 12 rolling 12-month income statement. Okay. Now I got a name. Now I have found this works on every report that I do. I go to B6 and I'm going to say equals. I go back to that original column and I'm going to click in B6 and I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to go so many columns over till I make sure I get all the ones I want. And I'm going to copy so many down till I make sure I get the ones I want. Yeah, I got. Okay, now I have the data and I can actually hide this. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can. I'm going to bold this. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and make all of these larger. I don't like what it does when I don't have any, so I'm going to make those a little bit wider. Okay. I'm going to delete column P over here because I don't have anything. And now I'm going to start cleaning this up. So I kind of do it. I go through and I do my bolds with the headings and the totals, and these are some special calculations. You know what? I also don't want these three. And then I do there. I know there's some better ways of clearing these zeros, but it's just a blank line. You don't want to delete the blank line. You just want to clear the data that's in them, and you don't need numbers on the headings. So I'm just clearing those up real quick. 2 more to go. Remember, we're only going to do this once. Okay, not bad. I'm a little OCD, so I want all of these centered. And, oh, it's dollars. I want to see my dollars. I'm going to make it just dollars. I don't need the pennies, right? Okay. It's beginning to look a little better. So now what I don't have is anything about the company or what this is or a date. So I'm going to say National User Group Meeting. I'm going to take and merge the cells on this. And this is the 12 months, trending income statement. Merge that across. And I want a date, right? I think I should have a date, although we have dates here. I do want to say something about the columns. So this is a new feature that came out, I think in the fall, where you can tell it to give you the month and the year. Whereas these, I just edited to show the difference. We used to have to type these in. Now we can just tell the system what to use. And this will change every time you run it. But anyway, I want a date up here. So I'm going to just go over and pick up the date from here. Now that's not my favorite to have a date range here. So I would probably add another tab since I'm not that good in Excel, and build a little lookup to say, when it's this, it's January 26th. You might be good enough in Excel that you could tell it to pick up the maximum and just display 131.26. I like to do things such as make this a little, no, I don't like that blue, this blue, and let's make the letters white, and let's bold them and make them bigger, just a little bit nicer report. Now, if I was really good at Excel, I could do some conditional formatting, which I'm not. I had somebody tell me the other day, and I haven't tried it, I'll be super honest about it, to take this and have Copilot create something more formal even from here. Or you can just literally go out to regular Copilot and tell it to take this file and create a formal management report. And you can save that and just call it each month from Copilot, which I was like, wow, that's really cool. I have not done that. I intend to. Here's the cool thing now. I'm going to hide this tab. Okay. And now I'm going to save my spreadsheet. So I'm going to save. I'm going to put it in. Remember where you put it, because if you're like Kim, she always forgets where she saves it. And this is going to be called income statement BCUG. Okay. I'm going to close it as soon as it finishes saving. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep those around. All right. So I'm back in BC. So you can do this in report definition. You could actually open the report back up and go to this default layout. Now let's assume I didn't. I'm going to take this out. Oh. I guess I'm not going to take it out. First time I would set something up and I can put a description in. The main thing I want to do though is I need something populated in this file name. So I'm going to use the import. And this is where you got to know where you stored your file, right? Get my income statement, BCUG. And it populates that in here. If I change this, I want to make sure I re-import it, right, to get those changes. So I'm going to say OK. Now we ran this for January last time. Let's run it for February. I just noticed that operating expense had $29,000 in this column for January. It now has, oh, it moved it over. This was January, December, November. Now it slid everything over, and so this is in the third column. So that's what I should see, right, when I take it out to Excel. So I don't create a new template. I just open Excel using my layout. Drops it in there, creates the file. I open the file. Sorry, my Excel's being really slow. Now, you're saying, well, that looks great, Kim. Doesn't have a bit of data on it. Just don't panic. Click Enable Editing. And there you go. And it's now got February. I did know, I have seen this a few times. If you don't have a big number to start with, you might have to make that bigger, and then you would want to save it back. But there it is. And you can see it moved the columns over, that 29,144 that I mentioned. But it's there. And it really doesn't take that long to do it. Yeah, you're going to mess it up a few times when you're first getting started. But I think it's a much better presentation. My Christmas list is for us to be able to have our balance sheet, our income statement, a cash flow, and a couple of other detailed income statement, a rolling 12-month or whatever, in one spreadsheet. Right now, what I would have to do is create my workbook and copy, right, and paste those, which is a whole lot less than dumping it out and formatting everything every month and that kind of thing. So we're making progress. This and this is not 100% new, but we're just getting a few more things that make this easier to do. Okay. I'll pop back. Oh, you know what? I can just show them. Let's just skip the slideshow. And I'm going to go to version 28. Financial reporting. You know what? I am totally not seeing the comments. Does anybody have a question?
I do.
I have, Dave, I have not seen the month names not change.
No chat.
Can you go back to your trend report that you were showing on the financial statements?
You want me to bring up my Excel one?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not in Excel. In BC.
Sure.
Now change that view by month.
Oh, okay. I just hid the filters.
Yeah. Okay, so view by month.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
Okay, so you got January and then going back to December. Now go up to the period option.
Okay.
And change that to the next period. See, your February shows it, but you still got the column. You still got the wrong column names on it.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Good catch, Dave.
So I had that with something I was working with a client and said, why isn't that not changing?
Yeah, you know, I did. What was I doing? Was I period? I think I was trying to do something where I thought see how October's off the page over here, and I tried to do next column, and it didn't do anything.
Is the column running with a negative one Y? I'm just curious why it went backwards, not forwards. But then again, May, June, July would be negative. It should show the past anyway. But it's kind of cool. It's not cool. Obviously, it went back 3 months into 2025, but it went forward from May forward in 2020.
Yeah, that's probably me messing that up. But my point is that and I think I clicked this several times just to see if I could get it. So that the column thing may be my fault.
Well, it's showing all the columns. You can't see them.
Yeah.
But it's showing you all the columns on the grid. So
which I thought next column would go on out, right? Thought that's what it used to do, but definitely moving these over should work with period. Oh, those are good. We'll have to report those. Thanks, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, have you actually done that Excel Copilot with a report?
Yeah, I've played around with it for different things, and it works really cool. I mean, you got to remember, everything with Copilot you have to take with somewhat of a grain of salt because it's not perfect yet. I mean, I think it's going to take years before it becomes super perfect, but I have tried it. I actually took something and said, please take this Excel spreadsheet and please change the columns and do this and rearrange it and put it on a new tab. And it actually did it. That was like, and I've actually taken data out of Excel, out of BC a lot of times in like the general ledger entry table, or I might take out the capacity table, or I might take out item ledger entry tables. And I say, please look at value entries, please look at this and combine the two and look for things that are, and I give it a thing to look for. And it actually gives me the results. Like I've taken like a 500,000 records that I said, please look into this analysis of this GL account And for every entry that washes to zero, show me every entry that didn't wash to zero, like receive not invoice problems, or you get like ship
Or
not invoice.
compare two spreadsheets.
Yeah, and you're comparing two worlds, and it does it for you. It just
Yeah.
followed the instructions, and it is intelligent. I will say that much.
In my opinion, using Copilot is all in learning how to ask it the right questions or give it the right instructions. Anyway, my 2 cents. All right. Thanks, Dave, for that. I definitely want to send that over to Kenny. Okay. So in 28, the report definitions have some new features. One is category, and you can set up your own categories. These are the ones that came out of the box. And it's just a way to let people know, run reports by category. I'm hoping that maybe this becomes a way for us to have different reports on the same spreadsheet. There's a dimension perspective, which I'll come back to. And let's see. And all of these have pretty much been here. Logo's new. I'm excited to see that one. I haven't tried it in Excel yet. I mean, yeah, sending it in an Excel layout. Status. This is very cool. You define your statuses. There's only one that can be unblocked because those are the ones you're using, right? But you could have retired ones. You could have ones that you're working on. And so it's really nice, especially if you're like several of my clients where they've used them. Somebody built one and now that person's gone and somebody changed it and did a new one. And somebody else comes in and goes, which one are we currently using? Nobody seems to know, right? So I think this is real nice. And that you can call them what you want to call them, right? And I love this. When did you last run this? Now you can go in and look, and if you want to know which one was being used last month, it's right there. It's tracking it for you. Ones that you haven't used since 1920, I should say 2020, I guess. I don't think we were around in 1920. Anyway, I am not a fan of, I'm a fan of list views. Where did I want to be? These are my reports. Sorry. These are my reports. I like a list view. I'm used to a list view. That's what we use most. However, that's not what I wanted. This is a really great view for your reports. You could filter by category here. So you could have some saved views and have ones for your income statements, your balance sheets, cash flows, and be able to, by category, see which reports you normally use, which are in draft mode, with a little bit of a description that you've put in, not that the system creates for you. I think it's kind of nice. Will I use it? I don't know, but I think it could be helpful. Okay, so now let's do the big one. Oops, let me take that back to my list. I'm a cat out of water without it. All right, so gotta look at something here. We're gonna run this income statement detail report. And dimension perspective comes up on here. It's not defaulted in because I didn't put it on my report. But I do have one set up called department. And let's take a look at that. You can have as many of these as you want. And here, and really it's simple, right? Department, an analysis view, your description, internal description. Well, let's see what we've told it to do. Well, what I've told it to do is to just put the departments, this is how I want to break it down. Maybe I want to break it down by customer group, by department. I just did one level because I think that gets the point across. So I'll go ahead and select this. And I'm going to, you can't really see it until you export it. And I don't think I have a layout for it. Okay, here goes. Are y'all ready? I'm still working on it. That was the old one. I don't have to touch anything right now. Does anybody see what happened? Hint, look at the bottom of the screen. My departments are separate tabs of data. Is that not exciting? I think this is something we've waited a long time for. And I just think there's, kind of unlimited things that we can do there with this. Angela, are you still with us?
Yes.
Quick question. Do you give the whole slide deck to the attendees? Post it on the site?
Yeah, so the slide decks are a little tricky. So we can add the slide deck to the meeting that has been set on the Dynamics community calendar.
Okay.
But like currently at this second, there's no way for us to add it to the meeting recording inside of Learners because we have to use like a link, but we're working on that. So yes and no, we will have it available on Dynamics community, but hopefully sometime shortly we'll have it available in Learners as well.
Okay. And the reason I asked everybody is because I put a lot more in the slide deck than I showed because I put a lot of the setups, right? So that you could see some of the setups and, row definitions and column definitions. And so I've got that data's in that slide deck and I want to see if we get that to you. So we just looked at that. And it's just a few more things we talked about, what these do, what you can get from the reports, how you create them, all these things you kind of already know. It does talk about those examples in version 26 that I think are really helpful. I learned some stuff by using them. And just some prerequisites, right? I think if you want to do reports by category, make sure you have them. It makes creating some rows easier. That dimension strategy for your globals and shortcuts. I'm not going to go through all these, but hang with me. Dimension perspectives. And then, if you're going to do a budget comparison, you better have a budget. And then your total type accounts. I'm like Cari. I don't believe in a whole lot of beginning end totals, but I would like to see kind of assets, liabilities, and equity, revenue, net income, just a few, right? This is the screen I showed you. Here's the different fields on the income statement. Take a look at audit logs. I forgot to even tell you about audit logs. So it's going to let you know who's making changes. I put this in here so that you can, and I edited the wrong slide, so I'll have to fix it. If you want the slide deck and for some reason can't find it, email me there and I'll send you the rest of the slides on financial reporting. But I did go into kind of all the analysis views, row definitions. There's a section here on column definitions. This will be, so any of that you want, I'm happy to give you. I will also say that I define these in I was trying to get through this, there's so many, in detail. You've seen this slide. I have done, I think, 8 or 9 different videos. Try to keep them to 4 minutes, but I've found that I end up talking 7 to 10 minutes way too often on my blog site. and they're downloadable with recordings. Where I'm actually showing these things. So here's all, whoops, and there you go. That's kind of the last of, this is where the slide with my email was supposed to go. But I'm happy to take any more questions. Oh, Susan, the next month is when version this 28 is coming out, is these features. It's in public preview now. You can find a lot about it. Microsoft is posting videos about a lot of the new features now. And yeah, and Nancy, you got my email. Send me yours and I'll send it to you. I guess it's back to you, Miss Angela. Or Chris.
Hey, yeah.
Somebody take it away.
Go back to sharing my screen, and I think the last slide is just basically a Q&A on hold on, I'll get there. Yeah, it's just going to be a Q&A on that. So it's time for you guys to ask questions if you didn't ask Cari or Kim, or is there any other things that are just that you guys are wanting to know? Comments? It says it's your floor.
Everybody's like, we're tired of listening.
Kim, if you'll stop sharing, I can take over the share. Yeah.
I'm so, yes, please.
No problem. There. But yeah, Chris, any parting words? I don't know. I don't see that anyone else has.
No, I mean, I think those were some great presentations. We've also been having a lot of really good participation within these meetings compared to a year ago. So thank you guys again for presenting.
You're welcome. Lori has asked the question twice. Lori, I have not heard of that either from a technical standpoint. Steve?
No, I'm reading it now. I have not heard of it. I do know people are still using OData from it, but we can take the message and we can ask, and kind of get back to you. I see your email address up here, so I just took a screenshot of your email and question, and I'll pass it on.
And then Olympia, grouping dimensions into divisions. So are you doing it within one division, like all your dimensions are or all your divisions are in one dimension and you want to group them together?
No, so hi, this is Olympia. So we have about 300 dimensions, and not in any sequential order do they group into divisions. So for example, our administrative division could have department 01, 05, 28. And we loved our trees and management reporter, but now we don't have trees. So we are struggling with doing anything. And we just moved into BC in January.
Oh, they can do the trees, Kim, in the dimensions.
Well, they can, except if per admin has department 1 and 5 and sales has 2 and 4, you can't group them, right? So you're going to have to put something like all the admin ones need an A, so AO1, AO5, and the sales ones SO2, SO4. So then you could group them and get reporting if you're trying to group those numbers together to do some column layouts that have your, is that what you're thinking, Steve? Maybe column?
Well,
Yeah,
you
just if you group them out with with something in front to just differentiate numbers that might duplicate themselves, but also you can subtotal. You can do the subtotaling in dimensions, and you can do it. You can do groups and subtotals. You begin and end totals and dimensions, and then you have that in reporting now. So now you can do, your dimension when you look analysis. Analysis by dimensions. I can look at my departments across the board with my subtotals, begin and end subtotals and columns. So that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Assuming that's what you're doing, Olympia, is you just have a lot of dimensions and you need to group them into the right buckets.
I have 200 dimensions that have to be grouped into buckets.
Yeah, you can definitely do that with dimensions because you can set your begin and end totals, put headers, totaling columns.
But to do that, you are going to have to add something to those dimension values, right, Steve?
Yeah, they're gonna have to do like admin would be like, so you have a header called admin. Under admin, it'd be like A01, A02, and then you're into like accounting. Accounting is like maybe accounting, AC, like AC for accounting, operations, OP, sales, SL. I mean, you got to put something so that you can index them properly so they all fall within the proper buckets and they're not commingling.
Well, since we imported our data, isn't that too late now that everything is imported in SAT?
No,
not necessarily.
But there's another option too. You could build column. You could have a report, and you have a column definition for admin, and it puts you have columns for 01 and 05, and then you have accounting column layout that's 06 and 15, right? So you could do it that way. You would have to run the report several times, but at least it would pull in those divisions. Is that what you were thinking, Dave?
Well, I was just thinking you could potentially, instead of using beginning and end totals, just use total. And then in your totaling, you use pipes to combine all the non-sequential dimensions together. So in your scenario,
that's a great idea.
If it's 1 and 5 is one department and 2 and 4 are another, just use the total instead of an end total, and then in one put 2 pipe 4 and then the other one is 1 pipe 5. So you're grouping them at least without having to renumber things in your dimension values.
That's a cool way of doing it. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Nancy, you said you used an outside app, but you're also using MIM.
I have lots of clients who have multi-dimensions and the groupings don't work the way, and I understand what you're saying in the reports about doing the pipe and that, but when you've got combinations, I'm going to tell you, when you start stacking these, it's a mess and it takes forever to run that report. Yeah. So we just went to Cosmos. We're using Cosmos for anybody who has to have complex reports like that. Just because of the fact that you can also create it, do summaries, do sub-level, reporting, push a button and it comes out. Like I said, I've got a lot of companies that are investment companies and that, and they buy and sell companies constantly. Sure. So it literally was taking hours to run reports that now they literally run their entire financial packet in an hour from Cosmos. Yeah. And it is a nice reporting package. Like I said, BC has a lot of things, and some of the stuff you just showed me today really is going to make me not have to make some of my people go to because not being able to do the different tabs for the different dimensions. But I do have a question on that. Can we group those dimensions on the tabs so that, in other words, one tab does 0, 1, and then 10, or do they just do a single tab?
That's a great question. I did not try in the details of that. Let me just see real quick.
But that,
whether
that
it's a
with that
filter.
total with the pipe, that would be cool if you could do that and make the
Mhm.
tabs, because a lot of people group by, they want, say, a P&L, but they want them grouped how they want them grouped, right? By departments or whatever. And if they could do that with that total, with those different tabs, that would make the financial reports inside BC so much more powerful.
It's letting me put those pipes in.
Okay.
I'm gonna actually execute it just to see, you know, what it does. But
And of course, you probably don't have a whole lot of data when you're talking
No,
about
I
someone
don't.
who, you have someone who has, thousands of records that, be interesting to see how long it takes to generate. Because I will say that's one of the things with the cloud. I noticed that like the analysis views and different things, they can take a while depending on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, also, if you want to go through the exercise of renumbering your dimension values into a more sequential grouping, that is possible too. Just going into the dimension value and changing the 1,
Yeah.
2, 3 to an AO1 or whatever you want it to be. Now, it'll take a time because it's obviously going to update that in all the various ledger entries and all the various
People
fields.
can't be working in it when you do it, just an FYI, because
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I
The
had
other-
someone
Depends
do
on how
that.
big the data is.
And yeah, so if you've got a lot of data, that may not be feasible, because
Agreed.
you basically tell people, hey, guess what? My system's down for a day or two.
Well, the other
Hey.
thing to remember when you do that is in your financial reports, if you have those dimensions highlighted, it doesn't update those.
Ah,
So if you change 1, 2, 3 to AO1, your financial report is still going to say 1, 2, 3.
right. Forgot about
It
that.
doesn't change those. Also, I just tested, and in those dimension perspectives, you can do filters. So
Cool.
you can put, so
That's awesome.
in her example, I could put 01, pipe 05, right? And it would pull both of those onto that and group them on that one spreadsheet.
Oh, that's great.
And then put 2 and 4 on the next spreadsheet. So you don't have it today, but maybe by our next meeting they'll be out. I'm not sure. I haven't heard a full release date, but there is a lot of data out there now, guys, on the BC YouTube channel, Microsoft's BC YouTube channel. If you're interested in some of the stuff that's coming, there's quite a bit. It's pretty cool. I think it's so great to be able to talk to people. I learned just from these couple of conversations we've had here. So thank y'all for speaking up and asking the questions. That's how we learn. And the people who shared ideas, Dave, Steve. Awesome.
Well, I guess that's thank you guys. Like if we said, we'll share these out. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.